You're listening to Satellite Sisters.
What's a satellite sister?
The person you call when the best thing in your life happens or the worst.
The person that gets you up, gets you going, and gets you through.
And every once in a while, changes your mind.
This podcast is part pep talk, part weekly check-in.
Like grabbing coffee with a friend.
Thanks for being here. Welcome to the Satellite Sisterhood. We are the Satellite Sisters. Welcome to the show. This is Liz Dolan. Leon is away this week, so it's just you and me, Jewel.
Hi, Liz. This is Julie Dolan in Dallas, Texas. I think this is fun, Liz. More room to talk. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Room for
I mean,
us.
we miss Leon. I'm not, okay, Leon, if you're listening, we miss you. Okay. But just sometimes it's nice to stretch out and talk a little more. Yes.
Yes. So I'm Liz Dolan. I'm in Santa Monica, California. I'm a marketer and, and Hooper's mom. But I have a question for you, Julie. Our question of the week is, would you wear a computer on your face? Because last week, Apple launched the Vision Pro. I'm just curious. Are you looking for a computer to wear on your face?
Liz, when I saw that, the first thing I thought of was fall risk. You were just going to fall down on your face. Okay, so it's sort of a good news, bad news story. The bad news is if I had that thing on my face, I would trip and fall. But the good news is I have that thing on my face. And so no one would see what would happen to my face. How about you? Liz, you're very advanced. You're very edgy. You like to be out there in front, as an early adapter of new technologies. Is this the thing for you?
No. Yeah, I think I am. I give myself credit for being an early adopter, but I don't even like wearing sunglasses on my face. So the idea of some big thing on my face, no, I'm not doing it. But anyway.
Wait a minute. You don't like wearing sunglasses?
I don't. I really don't.
I never knew that, Liz. We've been doing this show for decades. You don't like wearing sunglasses? You live in California.
I know. Have you ever noticed how rarely I wear sunglasses? You have not.
Apparently, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's move on. We can talk more about that offline. So, okay, we have a big show for you today. We've got two documentaries we want to talk about. One is Being Mary Tyler Moore, which is recommended by many listeners. And the other is BamaRush, which you really want to dig into, Julie.
That's correct, Liz. I thought that this was a very interesting and unusual documentary, and I thought it was worth talking about.
Yes, there is a lot in there to talk about. I concur. It's like 3 different movies smashed into one, much to talk about. Plus, I've got a few thoughts on leadership based on the firing of the CEO at CNN. He got fired last week. I have thoughts. I just have thoughts on that. Not so much about CNN, but about, leadership. And we have some reunion follow-up, right, Jewel?
Right, Liz. I'm not going to call these tips, but these are insights that I gained from organizing the family reunion. And then as well, Lizzie D on the socials, you've collected insights that many of our listeners have learned from their own family reunions.
Yeah. So we'll be sharing those. Thank you for everyone who contributed, both on @SatSisters on Instagram and in the Satellite Sisters Facebook group. First, we got to say we're sorry about last week's Father's Day snafu. We all thought it was Father's Day last Sunday. That's why we said it on the show. Sergio, who is a father, didn't even correct us. So thank you, Sergio, for that. But anyway, happy Father's Day this weekend, right, Jewel?
Right, Liz. I mean, that's pretty amazing. All 4 of us, Sergio and the 3 sisters. Oh yeah, Father's Day. Sure. Whatever. Okay. And, but our wishes for happy Father's Day are very heartfelt, nonetheless. So Liz, I have to say, here in the Dallas, with the Dallas group, that would be my husband and then my son and daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren live here in Dallas. We decided to celebrate Father's Day this past weekend. Okay, so we just did it. Okay, we're early all the way around. It just turned out to be much more convenient for everybody to celebrate Father's Day this past Sunday. And so many of our listeners who got an early jump on Father's Day, I think there were some advantages. And number one is the selection of Father's Day cards is much better. Like
A
last week.
week early.
I mean, Father's Day cards, Hallmark and everybody else that's making cards, there are so many fish and golf clubs for dads, right? Right,
Oh,
Liz?
really? Is
Have
that
you
what it
looked?
is?
Oh
No,
my
I have not
gosh.
looked.
I mean, the selection is like if you don't get there early, you're going to give your dad a fish card whether he fishes or not. Or you're going to give him a golf club card. They used to have tie cards, Liz. Lots of cards
Oh,
with
yeah.
ties on them. But now dads don't wear ties. Nobody
Yeah,
wears
no.
ties, okay?
No, nobody wears ties. You're right.
Okay.
But your
So
husband does fish, but you did not get him a fish card.
no, I did not. There was a big selection. So I went, it was actually a very cute kind of a donut card, Liz. It's hard to explain, but the joke was there and it was funny and he enjoyed it. The other thing about having an early Father's Day is, let's say you want to take your dad out for Father's Day. Okay. Hey, dining out, much easier than on the
Loads of room.
actual day,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Reservations. Maybe you want to take your dad to a baseball game. Again,
Mm.
Father's Day, forget about it. All those tickets are going to be sold. But if you went last weekend, you could have gotten some nice ballpark tickets. Okay.
So wherever you want, the week before Father's Day,
Uh,
wherever you
yeah.
want.
And I think in our Father's Day celebration here in Dallas, there was this sense of we were just ahead of the game, Liz. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It wasn't like, oh, we're like we messed up or we didn't come.
Yeah.
We were ahead of the game, and that brought a lightness to our celebration. So
Okay.
we have apologized for the early Father's Day, but I hope others of you have been able to take advantage of
Yeah.
the advance notice.
Yeah. Oh, once again, there's nothing wrong with being an early adopter, right? Just go for it whenever it works for you. Okay. So enjoy your Father's Day this weekend again, if that's how you celebrate. So, okay, I have two food related stories. One of them is Father's Day related, the other is not. I'm going to start with the one that is not. And it's breaking Cheez-It news, Julie. You may have
What is
seen
this, Liz?
You may have seen this because it did get picked up everywhere because it was so funny. But Cheez-Its, the cheesy, delicious snacks in the red and orange bag. You know what a Cheez-It is, right?
I love Cheez-Its, Liz. They're one of my favorite snacks of all time.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to say you missed your chance, but Cheez-Its converted a gas station here in California, in Joshua Tree, California, to a Cheez-It station, right? So you could drive right up and it would pump. At first, I thought it was just Cheez-Its, pump Cheez-Its directly into your car. Then I realized, no, they're pumping bags of Cheez-Its into your car. But still
Excellent.
pretty funny to sort of celebrate the whole summer road trip thing because it's in the middle of the desert there. People are sort of blasting through the desert, looking at beautiful Joshua Tree. So you can not only fill up on Cheez-Its, they have exclusive flavors and they have Cheez-It branded merch. So, like, I just think that would have been, there's some good Father's Day gift opportunities there in the Cheez-It gas station. But sorry, it closed June 11th.
It did. Oh,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. I mean, I would drive out of my way to go to a Cheez-It station, wouldn't you?
Totally. Totally.
I would like, let's all get in the car. Come on, family, jump in the minivan. Come on, we're going out to Joshua Tree. We're going to get Cheez-Its. It's sort of a brilliant marketing idea too, Liz, right?
It's genius. It's genius. And as a marketer, I just can't help thinking it through. Like, what was the meeting that happened when someone pitched that idea?
Yeah.
And I hope everyone in the meeting realized instantly what a genius idea that was. Also, the thing is, and this is going to make me sound 100 years old, in the era of social media, you only have to do something in one place now, right? You can do one
Right.
gas station in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't matter because it shows up. Lizzie D's going to see it on the socials, right?
You
It's
are.
going to be everywhere.
You're not going to miss it.
No, you're not going to miss it. But back in the day, if you wanted that to have any actual impact, Julie, you'd have to do like dozens of them because how else would people see them, right? So, congrats to Cheez-Its. I really appreciate it. So, all right, now we're going to move on to the food related story that is Father's Day related. In our home growing up, the whale of a cake for a whale of a dad was a must have, correct?
Right. It was our classic celebration on Father's Day. We
Mhm.
didn't get him the fish cards or the golf cards because our dad did not fish or golf. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But we love that Carvel cake.
Yes. So Carvel ice cream invented the character of Fudgy the Whale for Father's Day. Did you know that? It was a Father's Day promotion.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that, Liz.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And Fudgy just became so popular, they kept it on. It is like their number one product. So the Fudgy family, as they call it, in Carvel ice cream, includes Fudgy the Whale, of course,
Yes.
Cookie Puss,
Okay.
which is just fun to say, right?
Yes.
I don't think
Yes.
I've ever even, had a slice of Cookie Puss,
But
but
I would like one right now. That sounds delicious.
yeah,
Yes.
so they have Fudgy the Whale, they have Cookie Puss, and they have Hug Me, which I've never heard of. So these are all, you know, frozen ice cream treats. So here's what they're doing, Julie. They feel like they need to expand Fudgy's family. So
Okay.
they're having a contest where there are 3 new Carvel cake contenders, and you can vote for which one should be
Wow.
added to the sort of all-star lineup of Fudgy, Cookie Puss, and Hug Me. So
Okay.
I'm gonna try these out on you. The vote
Okay.
is open through June 26th. So
All right.
I will put a link in the show notes where you can actually vote if you want to do that. But here we go. Number 1, Crunchy Munchy Monster. So
Okay.
he-
Okay.
here's the origin story for Crunchy Munchy Monster. Crunchy Munchy Monster's flying saucer got sucked into a black donut hole, transporting him to the Carvel at 48th Street. And the tasty alien landed in New York City and has been hanging around Broadway. So that's the Crunchy Munchy Monster. So it's a flying saucer.
Okay.
Next,
All right. I didn't know if he looked like a monster or a flying saucer. Okay. Flying saucer. Okay.
yes.
Good.
I don't know what he looks like.
Easier to slice, it seems to me, flying saucer than a monster. Okay.
But isn't a flying saucer just sort of an individual treat? I think it is. Anyway, then Coney Carl is their second character. So it says Coney Carl is an oldie but a goodie in the world of ice cream. It's Carl who helped Tom Carvel back in 1934. This is, again, origin story of Carvel ice cream. Tom Carvel's ice cream truck broke down, and according to legend, Carl is the one that suggested that Tom Carvel market a semi-melting ice cream as soft serve. And
Ah.
that's how Carvel was born. So Coney Carl, I don't know, doesn't feel like enough of a character to me, frankly.
Okay. Okay. What's our third choice, Liz?
Our third one is Sunny Sprinkles. Now, this feels super modern because Sunny Sprinkles is basically an ice cream influencer, Julie. So she can be,
Okay.
she's all over New York now. She's only been introduced to New York and flashing her sprinkle coated petals and spreading positivity.
Oh,
So,
she's a winner. Sunny Sprinkles.
Sunny
That's
Sprinkles, you think?
that's who I'm going to vote for, Liz.
Okay.
I mean, I really think that she has quite a career ahead of her. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I just think it would be perfect for all kinds of celebrations, whether it be a birthday celebration, Mother's Day, maybe you're having a wedding, wedding shower, baby shower. Sunny Sprinkles, bring her aboard. Okay.
Yeah. Seems
Mhm.
happy. Seems happy. So there will be a link in the show notes, but if you go to vote.carveloriginalssoftserve.com, you can probably see pictures of these, which is a little bit harder to do in the audio format. So there you go. We've expanded the Fudgy the Whale family. We will see who wins. Okay, we are back. This is Liz, and I have news for news junkies. Well, actually, it's not really news, but you may have seen in the headlines that last week, the CEO of CNN, his name was Chris Licht, he was fired by the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns CNN, and his name is David Zaslav. And he was only on the job for 13 months. And he just never quite got the hang of it, right, Joel? You've read the story. It's just
I've read the story. He gave a big interview, a profile in Atlantic magazine, and
yeah.
apparently there was an insurrection inside the news network, and there you go. So,
Yeah.
but Liz, I knew you would know the inside story. What do you think really happened here?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have no knowledge. Of course I've listened to all the podcasts and read all the stories, but I just have
Of course you have, Liz. Okay, carry on.
but I do have just a couple of observations that are just me, Liz Dolan, having nothing to do with inside knowledge because Julie, there were just a couple of leadership issues that I noticed, And when I see smart people fail badly, I always wonder, how did that happen? Like, what went wrong here? And usually it's somehow in the leadership. So here's one thing I noticed. This was a red flag to me. David Zaslav hired Chris Licht without interviewing anyone else. So to
What?
me,
Really?
that's a big red flag. And Chris Licht did not work for him. Chris Licht was at CBS. David Zaslav was running this big company. I just think, really?
How did that pass muster? How did
I
that, like, nobody on the board anywhere said, "Hey,
I don't
maybe
know.
we should do a search. Maybe we should talk to a couple of people."
Yeah, just like we're trying to reinvent news. Maybe other people have ideas. I would have just thought if I'm David Zaslav, you have nothing to learn by talking to a wide range of people. Like I know, okay, they knew each other well because Chris Licht came to David Zaslav's parties in the Hamptons. I'm just not
Okay.
sure that's the number one qualification for running CNN. But here's the flip side. I know David Zaslav. I used to work for David Zaslav.
Of course you did, Liz.
Yes,
Of course. Of course.
David Zaslav was a very smart guy. When I worked for the Oprah Winfrey Network, my two bosses, who I thought of as mom and dad, were Oprah and David Zaslav because obviously
Oh,
Oprah.
that's quite a family there. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in like a bunch of meetings. This was a joint venture. The Oprah Winfrey Network was a joint venture between Oprah and between Discovery, which was run by David Zaslav. So we would like work away for months and nobody would ever agree on anything because Discovery wanted to do it one way and, the Harpo and Oprah wanted to do it another way. But then like every quarter we'd have a meeting with both mom and dad at the meeting and then we could settle things and move on. So I've had not a lot of experience with him, but I know him to be like a thoughtful, smart, interesting guy and generally a good leader. But
Mhm.
I feel like when you hire someone without talking to any other candidates, especially when it's someone who has never worked for you, it's not like promoting someone from within, right?
Correct. Correct. And
Then
he really didn't have, he had been an executive producer of a number of shows,
yeah,
but he wasn't a network
yeah.
executive, which I
Well,
think
that's my point number two. That's my point number two.
Okay. Didn't
And
go
I'm
ahead.
going to disagree with everyone on that one. But anyway, I think when you hire someone without talking to other candidates, it's because you think you know all the answers. That's my take on it. Right.
Mhm.
Like, I know what we should do. This kid he's not a kid. I don't know, he's 41 or something. So this grown ass man can do this. And he can especially do it because I know exactly what we should do. And I think to me, that's the red flag. If you don't want to listen to a bunch of ideas, it's because you believe a lot in yourself. And I will tell you from experience, when someone offers you a really good job, like if you're Chris Licht and somebody says, don't you want to come? I'm going to give you a giant promotion. Don't you want to do that? It is really hard to say no to that. Like the idea that you would say, I am not qualified for that job. Most people would not say that.
I
Um,
agree with that. Yeah.
Anyway, but okay, so my point number two is I did say that, but once. But so people are sort of faulting David Zaslav for hiring someone like Chris Licht because, as you said, he was a show producer. He had never run a network. He was not that kind of he was not trained that way. And so I'm going to have to go against the conventional wisdom here because the advice I always give to people when they ask me for career advice is always work for someone who's going to take a chance on you. Like everyone said, the big leaps people take in their career, it's because they take a job they are not qualified for, right?
I think that's true, Liz. I mean, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very true.
Like, if you're working for a boss who does not really believe in you and you think he's never going to take a big gamble on you, then I always recommend go work somewhere else. And the reason I say this is because that happened to me when I was working at Nike. When I was offered the job of chief marketing officer at Nike, I did actually blurt out in the moment, I'm not qualified for that. And so
I'm surprised. Really, I'm surprised you said that, Liz. Okay,
well,
because
it
you
was
have a lot of self-confidence,
I do.
and I'm sure you thought you were qualified for that job.
Well, I mean, once I started to think about it, I thought, well, sure, I can do that, and the person I said that to said, oh, you'll figure it out. And then I was like, yeah, sure, I can figure it out. Yeah, and I guess I did, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. Chris Licht was there 13 months. I lasted a lot longer than that. But I just think like there is that moment career wise, especially in the kinds of worlds that I've been working in where somebody asks you to do something that you're 100% not qualified for, and you should try. And I say particularly to women, I think women are much more likely to not try
Right.
because
Discount their qualifications and
yes,
experience and judgment. Okay.
yes. So
Yep.
so I do not fault Chris Licht for taking a job he was not qualified for because that we should do more of that. And so I'm just putting that out there as some leadership advice to women. If someone offers you a job you are wildly unqualified for, take it anyway. What's the worst that could happen? That's it. So those are those are my two takes on CNN. Otherwise, knock yourselves out, CNN. I don't care what you do. This was more like about the real takeaways from this for normal people. And
Right.
those are my two takeaways.
I like it, Liz. The only thing I would add is that when someone asks you to come in and do, organizational or transformational change in an organization, if your job is going to be to lay off staff, budget cuts, and recentering the network, you might want to make sure that you really have, the long-term support of whoever you report to. I think Chris will be looking for another job, no doubt, and he will be hired again, and all is well. But I think that's important.
But for
too.
normal
You can't-
people
to really have the support. Yeah,
good point, Julie.
yeah, they need normal
I
people
always
need
forget
support.
that you worked in business schools for much of your career, so you
Yes.
do actually know stuff. But versus I've just sort of made it up as I went along.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting segue, Liz, because the next thing we wanted to talk about was a wonderful article that was in the New York Times about the lifelong gift of sibling friendships. Okay. Now, this is we're pretty familiar with this topic at Satellite Sisters because
Yes.
we really believe in this. But this was an interesting article about, over 80% of Americans grow up with at least one sibling. And that, that sibling relationships can be very important. But in many cases, you have to make an effort to bolster the connection. And and the articles, they had researchers look at sibling relationships, and they said that there are three main things that you can do to foster a good connection with your siblings. And it's, I mean, if you can't get a podcast like Satellite Sisters, the first one they say is what helps to really intensify the bond between brothers and sisters or sisters is to give each other permission to change and grow and love them as individuals. Now, this one really struck home with me, Liz, because it's something that Leanne always says that she's the youngest of 8 children. She's the youngest of 5 sisters. And, she said when she started producing our show for us and, doing a lot of the writing and directing us, that it was really important that her siblings that we didn't get stuck with our image of little Leanne, that
Exactly. Yes.
Leanne was grown up with her own set of skills and experience and well qualified to be the producer of Satellite Sisters. And, and your comment about what you said, you forgot that, hey, I had worked in business schools, right? Like, I know about a couple of things, not just a couple. Yes. So
I think one of the biggest learnings of working together all these years is that we have all moved on in time. Like it totally broke us out of that being frozen in our tweenage years and tweenage skill sets. Like every week we are surprised with what various sisters and brothers too, but what we all know and have learned along the way. And it really means a lot.
it does mean a lot. And I think the advice to love your siblings as individuals and to celebrate the differences is really key. I mean, that's really key. The second one, and again, this is a topic that we have talked about a great deal, is be mindful of how your parents affect your dynamic. We have talked about this on Satellite Sisters, that it's clear that even though we all had the same parents, we had very different childhoods.
Mhm.
As the oldest girl in the family, third in line, my family experience was very different than, say, Sheila's family
Mhm.
experience. When Sheila talks about her growing up experiences, I think she grew up in a different family because I don't recognize it. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yes, I remember one time on the show we talked to a birth order expert
Yes. Yes.
because we just felt like we read a lot of stuff about birth order that didn't really apply to us because when they're like 8, there's not really just one oldest and one youngest, and then everyone else is a middle child. That was not what we were feeling. And what she said is often in a big family, people break into cohorts. And the cohorts that she saw in our family were you and our older 2 brothers, so sort of the oldest and various. Then there were the girls in the middle. That was me, Sheila, and Monica. We are all
Uh-huh.
just exactly 1 year apart. So within my cohort, I'm the oldest, but the mini cohort, but within the bigger family, I'm a middle. So that's interesting. And then Leon and Brendan, or Brendan and Leon, were the youngest.
Right.
But then between them, they very much had a older brother, younger sister dynamic that was unique to that pair.
Yeah, yeah. And the article also said that in many cases, like if you the how what is the communication flow like? Do you go back to the parent, like your parents, to talk, to send a message to your sibling? Like, our parents have passed away, but in many times, were we sending messages through mom to tell, Brendan's something, or, and that rather than direct conversation. And it's very important to understand that direct conversation is better because it breaks down, potential resentments that might develop. Right? We don't want those.
Well, I would say this to that. I would say we didn't go to our parents for that kind of stuff, but we did go to other siblings.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. Okay.
so
Good point,
the
Liz.
the talking behind each other's back was pretty much how we worked out like family communication when we when we were younger.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. So
which
there we.
up till very
Was
recently.
that it seemed to be effective for us, and then just generally suppress and deny was also another, just very effective tool for the Dolan family growing up. The third one, and this is important, and it really resonated to me, particularly because we just did our family reunion, but is to make time to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And that maybe sometimes that's not always a big reunion or a big holiday, but just to get together for an afternoon, a coffee or a phone call or whatever you can do, a Zoom call. I think that's really important. And the researchers said that these sibling relationships, particularly as we get older, like in our mid 60s, whatever, that helps to buffer against loneliness. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we all know each other's age. We're all the same age, pretty much. I mean, in our family, we didn't have a big age gap. I mean, maybe in your family you did, but I thought that was really helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we also had good role models that way. Like our mother, we've mentioned before that our mother, Edna, had an identical twin sister, Eleanor, and she talked to Eleanor on the phone every single day.
Right.
And
Right.
and that was back in the day where making a long distance call, we only lived 30 minutes apart, but we were in Connecticut and they were in New York. But, a long distance call was kind of a big deal. So to make a long distance call every day, but that's how they maintain, their closeness and with their other two sisters too. We spent a lot of holidays together. So I think as we were growing up, we saw that. And then we also saw the fact that our father worked with his brother,
Right.
sort of gave us, like, look, you can work with your siblings. You can make it work. It's okay.
Right.
And
Right.
mostly we have.
Right.
Okay.
Mostly.
Yeah,
Yes.
mostly. Yes. Mostly we have. Not every day, not every week. Okay, so thinking about that, as you look at the family reunion you just organized, which was most of the family on our side, and then, as we mentioned, like our mother's twin sister, most of her kids. And so, is there anything that you take away from how you organize the family reunion that you think would just work in general for other families, or relate to this advice?
All right. Well, the first thing I have to say is I do not feel like a family reunion expert. I mean, it only takes like one Google search to be humbled by the pros that are out there producing epic gatherings of hundreds of relatives with giant genealogy, different branches, very week longs. Can you imagine, Liz, week long celebrations?
No.
But but I was reflecting on what I learned and what I would be, I think may be helpful to others. The first thing is it's a reunion. I kept saying that to myself, that that the event we were trying to organize was family fun, should be the organizing principle. I kept chanting throughout the year that I was putting this together. It was like, it is not a wedding. It is not a wedding. Okay. You didn't have to have fancy clothes or,
No.
elaborate floral displays or gift bags or elaborate decorations or even over the top meals were not essential. That
No.
if you kept the focus on the family, I felt like that was good.
Yeah, can I add one thing? Because we did get comments from listeners. So in the Satellite Sisters Instagram, deployment diatribes is the handle. She agreed with that. She said, keep it simple. They had a no-host dinner one night in a casual restaurant, just to reserve a room. And then the next day they had lunch in the park with sandwiches from a favorite local St. Louis restaurant. So they
Yeah.
just really kept it simple. And she gave you kudos, Julie. She said, I love the idea of doing it in a B&B so no one has to host in their home. Yes, also genius.
Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, just don't underestimate the power of simple. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, some of the best moments of the family reunion were when we were playing games or doing simple craft activities, and everyone ages 5 to 70, whatever, could participate. Playing cards with your family or taking a walk. All these simple gestures. That we just wanted to be together, and so just simple is good. I also thought that having some buffer guests was excellent, and I would recommend that for your family reunion. We had two girlfriends and a boyfriend, and they just brought so much energy, and they were they really participated with everything, and they were so happy to meet everybody. And they seemed to like our family too, Liz.
Yes.
I was sort of a shocker. I mean, we didn't overwhelm
Yeah, that could go the other way. That could,
Yes, it could.
it's a risky strategy.
Yes, it is, but, so choose wisely there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Well, another suggestion from a listener, Joyce, in the Instagram. Here's what they tried. She said, we attached a family reunion to a wedding weekend.
Aha.
So that Sunday after the wedding, everyone just moved to a resort to be together. And they were there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I thought that was very clever. And that's where you would, in that scenario, Julie, you would get the buffer guests because you would
Yes.
get some boyfriends and girlfriends and the plus ones of the people in the family. So good idea, Joyce. We're adding it to the list.
I like it, and then in terms of travel, everyone's going, but then you have
Yeah.
relaxing time, when you're doing the reunion. Good. I love that. Um, This I feel very proud of, even though I got mocked by some of you. I won't name names,
Yeah.
but I flooded the zone with information. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, you can build an elaborate website and you can put it all there. We did extensive emails that had extensive details about everything that you could possibly imagine. I was trying to anticipate all of your questions, okay? And
Mhm.
I got mocked for it, for the
You
length
did.
of my
Yes.
email, okay? I
Yes,
guess
you did.
people
Okay.
don't send long emails, but I think that's very important that everybody feel comfortable and that you feel like you could do the reunion on your own terms, okay?
Yeah.
Because well, I think that's important to say, Liz.
Mhm.
Everybody's on a journey. Everybody comes to the reunion. They have a lot of things going on in their lives. And not every, you cannot assume people are in the same place. They all have different needs, and you want to make sure that they know that they can come and be comfortable. And I think
Yeah.
that's important.
Okay, well, then I'll use this as a moment to make a confession. There was a lot of lengthy email, not all of which I read. So I was actually on the plane on my way to come see you in Austin, Texas, when I read the final installment, and where there were the instructions you wanted everyone to like bring a framed family
Yes.
photo that
Yes.
you would just have in the library at the inn that we were staying in, so everybody could look at. So I did not do that because I was already on the plane by the time I read that instruction, but I didn't feel guilty about it because in a previous lengthy email, we got the request from your husband. He was doing the slideshow, and I did send in a lot of content through the years for the slideshow.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so
You're all
there you
right.
go.
I
Okay.
sense that you were underprepared for the reading. I sense that, Liz. That's all right. I mean, another key one I'd say is, shared talents. Look around in your family. We were lucky that we had a professional musician, Leo Dolan. You can listen to him. He is outstanding. Multiple professional photographers, a mixologist, and several DJs in our group. So
Yes.
and of course, Liz, you are a very experienced MC. So you all took your skills you took our reunion to the next level. And it was exciting to see the younger generation in action,
Mhm.
and I think that was key. And we did have a slideshow. My husband had worked on that. And, I think it's important to, that having a slideshow, it's important to, I think, incorporate your own family traditions. And growing up, our family celebrations always included a slideshow after a Thanksgiving dinner or after a Christmas meal. And we would sit on the couch and we would howl with laughter at these bad pictures of ourselves, right?
Right.
And so my husband built a slideshow with your help, Liz, that had some gems in there. And that was a big hit. So,
Yeah. The Marley RZ listener, she mentioned talent show if your family is into that.
uh-huh.
And, the last family reunion we did, which was 5 years ago in Bend, Oregon, I hosted the talent show, was in my backyard there. And so that was like a full-on show. I think what you did, which was so smart, Julie, is sort of just make the most of people's talents. So people's talents were on display, but in their own little moments. So Colin making the cocktails, Leo entertaining us with music, a lot of talent on display, but not necessarily produced into a show.
Yep. Yep. Well, and I think, it was, to do something a little bit different for each reunion is a good thing too.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and clearly the reunion took on a life of its own. So, and I think that's you want that to happen with your family gatherings because you can do all the double checking and planning, and we did have structured and unstructured time. But I think some of the best moments were like when spontaneous activities broke out. I mean, our sister Sheila led the family in a group rap on Saturday night that it just brought down the house, didn't it,
It was
Liz?
unexpected. It was
Yes.
unexpected.
I did not see that coming, okay? And it was fabulous.
Well,
So,
you may remember our original family reunion in Bend, which was like 15 years ago. Sheila's talent at the talent show was she took a picnic bench and she did her balance beam routine from the 7th grade. So Sheila's always full of talent surprises.
Yeah. So she brought it on. And I guess finally I would say to all listeners, I mean, it's worth it. It's definitely worth the time and the effort to reconnect with family, to create new memories for, in this case, for 3 generations. And you might think, oh, it's too much work, or I don't think people will come, or it's too hard to find a date. I mean, to find a time when everyone can come. But it really is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people commented on the importance of getting the save the date out early. How early did you get that out, Julie? Was it like
I got 8 months in advance,
8
Liz.
months? Oh,
I
wow. Okay. All right.
again, you didn't read any of my emails, so thanks, Liz. Okay.
But Stephanie on Facebook also had another suggestion, which is try your best to establish a firm date. For example, the second Saturday in July every year or on even years that people can anticipate, which I thought was a good idea. I mean, we don't do the every year, every other year. We're sort of in a every 5 years seems like plenty for us for now, but because we see a lot of each other in between. But I think that's a good one, and giving people an early warning, super important. And then, of course, the last thing under the name Make My Life Simplified on Instagram, the suggestion was an online photo album. So everything that was done for the slideshow and all the photographs that were taken at the reunion go online. You share the login around so everybody can order their own photos or photo books for Christmas, by Christmas, which I think is a
Oh, that's a really good idea. So we're
yeah.
working on that. We have some post-reunion production that's going on. So that's good. I like that. I mean,
Okay.
thank you for sharing your ideas. So it inspires me to pick a date, Liz, 5 years in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, Julie, you can relax because, this was your year. You and your husband did a bang up job. Everyone is very grateful. So I think you should just sort of enjoy that for a while. Do not put any more pressure on you. But we do have one big event coming up later this year that I thought tied into a lot of these messages. And that is, of course, the Satellite Sisters Big Fun Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a specific thing I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about much. So the Satellite Sisters Big Fun Weekend, like it's a celebration of friendship and sisterhood. It's in Minneapolis, October 13th through 15th this year. All of the info is at satellitesisters.com. You can see the whole schedule for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. We also have sponsorships available. So the sponsorship I wanted to mention is a special category we created for listeners. Like we have like some company sponsorships. If you got a company and you want a company sponsorship, sure, go for it. But we also know there are a lot of you that are authors or accountants or marketing consultants, or you have your own Etsy business or you're lawyers, and you might just want to promote your products or services to the sisterhood at the actual event. So there's a specific category where you can just do that. So it's just going to be things that you can do if you want to demo things for the fellow satellite sisters at the event. We'll give you a table to set up if you want that. So you'll be able to do that. We will promote you at the event. And if you have stuff that you want to put in our gift bags and things, all of that is possible. So again, if you go to satellitesisters.com, scroll all the way to the bottom of the event page, and you'll see the structure for those kinds of sponsorships. And as part of that package, you get a ticket. So,
That's a good deal, Liz.
so the cost you're paying is mainly the ticket to the event, which is a little bit more to give you some time to show what you want to show to the Satellite Sisterhood. So anyway, we look forward to seeing all of you, as many of you as can make it, October 13th through 15th this year in Minneapolis. Tickets are still available and hotel rooms are still available. So that's, we can't promise it's going to be every year, but it's definitely this year. Right, Joel?
Right. I'm so excited for this, Liz. And I know Leanne is too. It's going to be a great, fun weekend. A big, fun weekend. How about
Big
that?
fun weekend, as promised. And we're back. I wanted to start out the top of this segment, Julie, with awarding the prize for the Top Chef Out of Context contest that I've been running in the Facebook group.
Okay, Liz, maybe explain what what this contest is, because it's been a big one. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, season 20 for Top Chef has been a big one. It just ended last week. For those of you who have not seen the finale, I'm not even going to comment on who won and who didn't. But throughout the whole season, I've been running a little contest in the Satellite Sisters Facebook group for out of context quotes. Because seriously, the things they say on that show are insane.
Okay.
When you hear super foodie people talking about food or people commenting on each other's food, if you were in real life, you would just think, well, that's crazy, or I don't even know what they're talking about. So the out of context contest was just type in anything you wanted, just an out of context quote from any episode from this season. And then I put all the names into a hat. I'm not picking my favorite. I just chose one person who is going to win a Satellite Sisters apron.
Good.
And you get to choose your own. You can either have the apron that says peace and sauce on it, which is the Cooking with Liz mantra, or you can have the apron that just says I'm an eyeballer, because let's admit it, that's the way some of us cook. We're eyeballers. So I threw them all in a hat, and the winner of the Top Chef Out of Context prize for season 20 is Mirtha Carballo.
Okay.
And so Mirtha, I will be DMing you, or you can DM me. But the quote that she put in there, which is funny because I don't even remember this, it just says, I'm more of a medium zucchini, just trying to be honest with y'all. So
Okay.
out of context, Julie, do you have any idea what that means?
No, I don't know what that means. And I wouldn't want to ask any follow-up questions to that statement. And
Exactly.
it could go terribly wrong. In my opinion.
That's why out of context is just funny. So anyway, Mirtha Carballo, let's get in contact, and you are the winner. Thank you everyone who participated. Okay, moving on, Jewel. You're up.
Okay.
Documentary talk.
Okay, it is documentary talk. First of all, the backstory is that I talked Liz into something a little different this week on Satellite Sisters. I said, let's watch the same thing and discuss it, rather than, we typically, when we talk about entertaining sisters, we're recommending to each other a book, a movie, some music, whatever. But this time I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we watch the same thing and we discuss it? So that was the first thing I had to talk Liz into. The second thing I had to talk Liz into was I had just watched the new, it's on HBO Max or Max, whatever you call that I don't know, whatever that service is, okay? It's a new documentary called BamaRush. And this is a documentary that was developed by a director named Rachel Flight. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But it comes from, during the pandemic, there was a whole viral TikTok thing about sorority rush at the University of Alabama. So because that had been so popular on TikTok, I guess HBO decided, hey, let's take a really hard look inside what happens for sorority rush at the University of Alabama.
Yeah, and can I just say, I had no idea that was like a viral TikTok thing, because I'm not on TikTok. So this was all new to me, that hashtag BamaRush was like a major cultural thing.
Yes. Okay. So it was good, Liz, that I included you on that.
Yes.
Now, I want to, before we start talking, so we both watched this, but before we start talking about it, I wanted to just share some of my underlying assumptions that when I started to watch this documentary. First of all, many of you know that I work for a number of large universities. So I have seen firsthand the benefit of making a large university small by being associated with a sorority. I have also seen plenty of destructive behavior, more so at fraternities than sororities, but I am, very familiar with that as well. I also know many women in my life, my friends, who have lifelong friendships through the sororities that they were in. These are very important. This is how they have made some of their best friends. Okay. I've also seen in my both professional work and my nonprofit work the power of the sorority professional network. I've seen many professional women use their sorority network to accomplish professional goals. And finally, I have also seen many women use the sort of philanthropic part of sorority life, of raising money for good causes, that they have done a tremendous amount in their life post, undergraduate college sorority experience. They stay connected to their sororities, and they stay and they use that as a way to fundraise and raise money for many good causes. So I have both sides of it. So I watched this movie, and my first reaction is, if you think this is going to be the inside scoop, you're going to see like what really happens in those sorority houses. You're not going to get that. This is an HBO documentary. It follows 4 girls that are preparing for the University of Alabama Rush, and they have 4 different backgrounds, they have different motivations. But so it starts off like that, and the girls are pretty compelling, don't you think, Liz?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But there is this overwhelming urge to fit in. I mean, that it's the University of Alabama. We are not graduates of there. I have been to the campus, but I really, I am not. I don't know that much about their sorority rush other than what I saw on this show. But there was, with these 4 girls, this very powerful, very strong sense of trying to fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very nerve-wracking, the whole process.
It looked so nerve-wracking. I mean, the longer I watched the movie, Julie, the more I worried about these girls. Like, oh my God, this could go so wrong. Of course, the movie went wrong in other ways, which we're going to get to. But like, I had no idea. I have very little exposure to sorority life. There were no sororities where I went to school, but obviously I know friends that have been in sororities. So, but what I did not know of the existence of Rush consultants. Julie,
Yes.
did you know those existed?
I was aware of those, but these are featured. There are a couple of them are featured in this documentary, and you begin to like really understand how high the stakes are
Pressure, yes.
for these 18-year-old girls. If you think getting into college is hard, no, forget it. Getting into a sorority, the one you want to get in or the one you think you want to get into, I mean, it's just so high stakes,
Yes. Or they make them feel like, yes, they feel like it's high stakes. I mean, there was one Rush consultant who said to one of these teenage girls, you don't have to be like everyone else, but you can't stick out. And I thought, talk about like something that is just undoable. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like that's a no-win situation for your average 18-year-old.
Right. And we understand that it may be different at the University of Alabama than other schools in terms of what it's like. Okay, so so that part of it, yes, you're really compelled by these girls' stories, because you're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is a lot, and it costs a lot too, Liz.
Oh
The
my God.
fees to be in a sorority. And
Yeah,
then
the ones they were, it's $8,300 a semester. I nearly fell off my living room couch when I heard that. I had no idea. But even just Rush Week, they're
Yeah.
buying so many clothes and so much jewelry. And there was one of these young women that was getting her clothes from Rent the Runway. I'm like, how is it possible that they're spending so much money? I mean, I see that it is, and I understand the social pressure, but it was just building in me. I was like, stop, save yourselves. So that was,
yeah.
it's very hard to watch some of that.
Right. And, and but it would be too easy to just judge this girl's like, oh, well, that's ridiculous. I would
Sure. No,
never
no,
do
I
that.
agree. I
Like,
totally
many
agree.
of these, one of these girls is an orphan.
Yeah.
And so her sense, and from a very young age, all she wanted to do was go to the University of Alabama. And all she wanted to do was to be in a sorority.
Mhm.
And this was how this propelled her through high school. this was a very important to her self-worth and her self-definition.
Yes.
And I mean,
That was compelling. That was
Right.
compelling, which is what brings us then to, like, there's movie number 1, which is about the girls going through Rush.
Right.
And then there's movie number 2, which is about the director herself, who also felt, you could tell, she just very strongly connected with this idea of wanting to belong, right?
Yes, right, Liz. And she breaks through, and all of a sudden she's in the movie, in the documentary.
Right.
And
We're
here
not going to
it's
tell you what her deal is, but she's got a deal that's made her feel like on the outside her whole life. So next thing you know, she's like one of the stars of her own movie.
right, and you're very moved by her own testimony
Yes.
and how much she relates to these girls. And in fact, when I watched it, Liz, I was thinking, I think this was just a tipping point for the director. It just all came out. She
Yes.
didn't mean to have it come out, but it all comes out, and you're sort of like, you're taken aback by it. Okay,
Yes.
and then so that's interesting. And then there's the third part of the movie, Liz, which
So movie number 3 is when they get into like what really is the history and tradition of the sororities and the fraternities, specifically at the University of Alabama. So that's when you find out things like, well, there's this thing called the machine, which
Right.
is there's like this underground, like it's like a mob management situation.
right,
Like,
secret meetings, with
yes.
representatives from the sororities and the fraternities, and making all the decisions on campus. And now, like, you have candidates, when they have like president or of the class, people will identify as a non-machine candidate.
Yeah.
'Cause they're
Yeah.
trying to break out of it. And,
I
just
mean, that could have been a whole movie, right? Unto itself.
that was it. So
And then also you find out that the University of Alabama Greek system did not desegregate until 2013.
that's when I
Okay.
fell off my couch, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was just very shocking information. So,
Yes.
so
Again, could have been its own movie. So here we have the 3 movies in one movie, which is what makes it, I think, not a great movie, but
Right.
very compelling in lots of ways, right?
right, and I mean, that it was worth talking about for that. So, are we saying you should watch this? No. Like, yes,
Maybe, I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. That's it.
Yes.
If it's just that's but I would have to say, after watching it, I think about that. I think about the girls that are in this movie, and I think about the director, and then I also think about, like, that university, having worked at a university, like, somebody really needs to, like, the universe, the Greek system can, as I said at the beginning, can be very positive, but, like, some of these negative things just have to be addressed without
Yes.
doubt. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so you're never gonna be a PNM? Sorry. That's the code for potential new member.
I
I learned a lot of things I don't really need to know, but now I know them. So I'm gonna start using that in conversation.
Okay.
PNM. Okay, so that's BamaRush. That's on HBO Max. Also on HBO Max, much easier to take in, but also very thought-provoking, is the documentary Becoming Mary Tyler Moore. And this was recommended to us by listeners in the Facebook group. And didn't you love this, Julie? I loved this.
I love this, Liz. I thought I knew everything I needed to know about Mary Tyler Moore. And then I watched this documentary, and I really, really enjoyed this. I mean, you come away. I mean, obviously she was a great actress and she was a very accomplished dancer and singer, but you really come away with a sense of what a feminist she was
Mhm.
right at the beginning, right at the beginning of the first wave of the feminist movement in the US. And what an incredibly important role she played, even though I don't know that she's ever been, totally given credit for it.
Mhm.
What did you
Yeah.
think?
One of the things in the very beginning, I mean, the movie, of course, is full of clips from the Dick Van Dyke Show and clips from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And you're going to love all of that stuff. It's also great, especially if you're, of a certain age and you have a vague recollection of watching those shows. But they also did something really smart. They have a lot of the interview material they have with her is her on talk shows of that era. So I think it sort of puts her in the cultural context of the moment just by the questions they were asking her, whether she was playing Laura Petrie or playing Mary Tyler Moore, Mary Richards. And like it starts, oh my God, David Susskind, what a jerk. Most of you probably
Exactly.
even remember David's, but it starts with a bang. It's like David Susskind asking her just the most insulting questions. Like at one point, he just says to her face, well, working mothers shortchange their children emotionally. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. But she says it in such a nice Mary Tyler Moore way. It really, what struck me overall about the movie is how she found a path to always talk about her own drive and ambition, and that she created that for other women by what she did on television.
Absolutely, Liz. The other thing is that I was watching this documentary. She almost didn't make it big. I mean, yes, she was in the Dick Van Dyke Show, but after that show, she was in a Broadway flop. And she was like floundering around for 4 years. And it was only when they did a sort of Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore kind of, reunion show that all of a sudden she was back, sort of, people were interested in her. But CBS executives didn't want a show about a single woman, and they hated the pilot. I mean, can you imagine? They didn't like that pilot. And you think about all the wonderful actors that were on the Mary Tyler Moore, whether it's Betty White, Cloris Leachman, I mean, they're just
great characters and great actors. Yes.
Great. And at every point in her life, she was, just as you said, Liz, she was asserting herself. Even in the Dick Van Dyke Show, she told the producers she didn't want to wear a dress, because
she was vacuuming.
When she was vacuuming, because she said she wanted to wear pants. And so they agreed to let her wear pants, Liz, right?
Yes.
But of course, the TV execs didn't want the pants to be too tight. I mean, she just fought this system and created a whole new path. And it was so inspiring to see. And, and even in her personal life too, which was, which had many tragedies in it.
Yeah.
She was able to be strong and stay strong and continually transform herself.
Yes. I feel, Julie, like Mary Richards as a television character had like great meaning to you at the time in your life when you were taking that in. Yes?
Liz, when my first job, I was a management trainee at U.S. Steel. I was working in a steel mill. And yes.
I know. I remember.
You remember this, Liz.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any role models. I didn't have anyone to tell me like what I should do, how I should dress, what I should say. I had a boss that reminded me of Lou Grant, like, sort of grumpy bosses, male bosses that had never had a woman working for reporting to them. And so I would watch that. I would think about that show and I'd be like, what would Mary Richards do? And that's the way I acted on my job. Yeah. I mean, she was the most powerful role model for me in my first job out of college.
Okay. All right. Well, it's still super fun to watch. Hard to imagine how shocking it was at the time, but it was. But in a way that got into everyone's living rooms every weekend, and it did the job. So I think we can just say thank you to Mary Tyler Moore.
Thank you.
And we are very happy to have you buried in the same cemetery as our parents. So that means a lot to us.
It does. It does.
So how did that happen? Mary Tyler Moore, right down the row. Okay, well, I think we're just gonna wrap this up here, Joel. I think we've covered enough.
We have
today.
Yes.
Like all by ourselves. I was gonna do an email, but let's just skip that and go right to the thank yous, okay? So thank you to Sergio, of course, and Sergio Enriquez, who's our engineer. makes us sound good. Thank you for not correcting us last week when we wish you happy Father's Day. Congratulations to our graphic designer, Emily Loudermilk. She is off on her honeymoon.
That's
right
so
now.
nice, Emily. Congratulations.
Congratulations. So we hope you are not listening. And thanks always to our sponsors and to the listeners who support our sponsors, because that's how we make this show. So, okay, Julie, our to-do list. What's on your to-do?
So simple. I am declaring this National Peony Week. I want everyone to go to a Trader Joe's near you, and for under $10, you can get some peonies. There's nothing that says summer more than some peonies. Go get some flowers, Liz. That's my to-do. I mean, they're great. They smell great. They look great. And it really helps to celebrate summer. What do you have on your to-do list?
Well, I have guests who are going to be staying at my place when I'm away this summer over the 4th of July.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do the here's everything you need to know about my place list. Just the Google Doc that confesses the basic stuff when the garbage gets picked up and a few things like that. But also hey, 2 of my 4 burners don't work. Don't worry about it. Not your fault. Things like that. So good. I don't want people to get overly concerned about that. But I also, I was reading a story the other day about how overdue Los Angeles is for a giant earthquake.
Oh, Liz.
Because your husband is a geologist, I know you know this, that, they expected a big one a long time ago. So I was like, should I put that in my list of instructions? Should I explain where I have all my earthquake supplies? I don't know.
Yes. Why not?
I would normally put that in, but it is Los Angeles and we are overdue.
Okay. And why not? Why not tell them that? Yes, because if you didn't tell them and there was an earthquake, I mean, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
I think, it's like taking an umbrella and then it doesn't rain. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. It's not nearly as important as what is the Wi-Fi password, but it could be important in a super rare circumstance. So, okay, I will be adding that to the list. Thank you, Julie. So that is it for us this week. Lian is back next week. You have a good week, Joel.
You too, Liz. Okay.
I will. And don't forget, call your satellite sister.